Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Uncharted: A Lost Legacy. I played it on the PS4 because that's what it's available on. Uncharted: A Lost Legacy is not a full game, it's like an expansion in the universe, it's DLC essentially, but it is a very long DLC or expansion, whichever you want to call it. It focuses around Chloe Fraser and Nadine Ross from previous Uncharted games, and specifically Uncharted 4 for Nadine, and they have teamed up to find a lost Indian treasure. But in very Uncharted fashion, they basically have to steal something or cross paths with a very dangerous man who is looking for the same thing, and that is not a new and unique trope. I mean, we've all seen this idea before, and the Uncharted franchise has used it more than once now. That having been said, he is a very different villain than previous ones. He is interesting, and, you know, getting to watch Chloe and Nadine, their specific interaction is very interesting to me because they grow as characters and basically become friends. Despite both having their own motivations for this to begin with, they get to know each other, they get to understand each other, and they get to like each other. One thing that they did that was very interesting is Chloe uses a cell phone, whereas Nathan had his, drawings in his book, and it's nice because it adds another layer to Chloe. It makes her different and unique from Nathan. And I think that's important when you're trying to create a game in the same universe, but with different characters. It's very easy to just make them operate the same way. So her using a smartphone and him using his notebook, that's cool that they added that little layer of detail. It's a well-written story, it's an enjoyable journey to go on. Yes, it's not super long, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. They get to put the story together, it doesn't feel rushed. At the end of the day, it's well told, it's a very enjoyable story. I really liked it. I found myself loving it as much as I loved any other Uncharted game, which that's a big deal. The sound effects and the music, it's good, it's very good, it works with the game. Obviously they have to do certain things to help make you feel like you're in the world, and I feel like it all works very well. The sound effects for the weapons, the environment, the animals, the people, just like the bustling city, because there is a point where you're in India in like a bazaar and it sounds like you're actually in a bazaar, and that's always nice to get that extra level of detail because it engrosses you in the story, and that's important. Then there's the voiceover work, which is obviously always very important because, well, you spend a lot of time with these characters, and so if the voiceover work is not amazing, then it's kind of hard to fully embrace it. The only thing I'll call out in the audio is Nadine Ross's voice actress. At times, she sounded South African, which she should, but at other times, she sounded British. Maybe that was just me, but that's what it sounded like to me, so I've gotta say it. So next up is the gameplay, and let's just get into that. So you have a lot of the things that have been introduced throughout the series, including the rope to swing on, the climbing, the exploration. And I will say one thing that's unique in this game that has not been seen in a lot of the other Uncharted games is that there's multiple paths to get to places. Like, you'll get to a place and it'll kind of branch off, and you may have to use slightly different skills, like this one might slide, this one might swing, you know, you might have to climb a specific way this way, or climb up your rope this way. So that's kind of interesting, but it's not like really game-changing. Nothing in this game is truly like revolutionary for the franchise. You have an open world-ish area to drive around. There's not a ton to do there. There is some gunfights and some extra treasures to find, which that's pretty cool. Like, it's kind of like a side mission finding these extra tokens. So that was enjoyable. I liked that they introduced that. You've got your standard gunfights, you've got your crazy, escapes, you know, you've got a bit of driving. The driving is still not the greatest thing in this game, but I think that's also explained by the fact that you're driving crappy 4x4s in, muddy off-road situations. So that obviously ties into the controls, which, let's face it, the movement controls have always been one of the best things about Uncharted, but the shooting has never been a shining, beacon unto shooting. It's not the greatest shooting mechanics we've ever seen, but they work and they're functional. It's not the primary focus of these games anyways. The story is the primary focus in these games. I addressed the driving a little bit already. It's very slidey, which I guess is to be expected given the terrain and the vehicle type, but still it's not always awesome. That having been said, the movement, the climbing, that all works very well. Lastly, there's the graphics. I've gotta say, for some reason, I don't remember Uncharted 4, which this is an expansion to, looking quite as good. The Lost Legacy looks amazing. Just the amount of detail in like facial expressions and the characters in general, absolutely astounding. The amount of detail in the world itself is wonderful, and they still do things that they've introduced in other games that I love, like the water effects on the clothing. The fact that if you're just walking waist deep in water and once you come out, you're only wet from the waist down, I love that. I think that's cool. I love those subtle details. And this game has that. And I've got to admit, I'm blown away by the graphics in this game, considering it's just an expansion, but it feels way more than that. So to wrap this up, while I said it is just an expansion and it feels more than that, literally just a second ago, I really do stand by that. I fully recommend it. I really enjoyed the experience, and I love that it added to the Uncharted world. Honestly, as much as I loved the ending of Uncharted 4, I didn't necessarily want the world to end. I do want to know more about some of these characters, and I think Chloe and Nadine, that's an awesome pairing. Okay, so in the comments below, why don't you tell me what you think about like expansions like this that are adding large amounts of content with, enclosed stories. And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share, subscribe. Have a good one.